Hello, wonderful family. Good day. Another wonderful day and another glorious opportunity to share the word with you. Hallelujah. Today, I just want to take us to a time and a season before the written word. And I want you to put on your imaginative caps and come along with me. I want to paint a scenario that you were being, let's assume that you were being chased by a murderous band and you got somewhere and you seem to have been backed into a corner. Just stick a pin there and come with me into the book of Hebrews chapter 11 from verse 29. I'll just read two verses, 29 and 30, and I'm reading from the King James Version. By faith, or in this instance, by believing what God said, they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians are saying to do were drowned. By faith, or by believing what God said, the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. Now let's get back into that scenario. Imagine you were amongst this crowd of Israelites, so to speak, that were backed into a corner. Behind you were the Egyptians coming to murder you, and in front of you was the Red Sea. And then by some thing that you could not understand, Moses told you that God had said you had to go forward. And along the line, you noticed that there was dry land in front of you. Where had been a sea before, the sea had parted. Just imagine yourself there. Have you ever seen or thought of how a body of water will heap itself up on both sides and the middle will be dry ground? Imagine that immense column of water that is the depth of that water that could rise up on either side of you up to the height of a story building, to say the least. In fact, it had to be more than a story building. If not, it wouldn't really have had depth. Now, picture yourself that you've never seen this kind of a thing before, and you are confident enough to step inside there, the middle. On your left is a great body of water being held up by nothing that you can see. On your right, another great body of water being held up by nothing you can see. And fear doesn't grip you. You walk through that for miles, just going on the supposition that God had said that He's going to hold this thing on both sides till you pass through. Do you know the amount of courage that would have taken to do that? And these ones acted because it was said that God said. They didn't audibly hear God. It was Moses who told them that God said, and they believed and walked through on dry ground. Now, the Egyptians were not told to walk through. But somehow they reasoned in their mentality that if these Israelites could pass through, I can pass through. Note, God didn't tell them to pass through. So they were not going based on believing what God said. They were going based on their own knowledge. Now, of course, so to speak, there was nothing physical holding the bodies of water separate. So when that spiritual thing left, the water came crashing down, because what held it up there was the belief of the people. But just imagine yourself amongst those Israelites. Would you have been confident enough to walk through that? Not forget the fact that you now know the story. So we are walking now based on past knowledge. Imagine if you were there at that particular point in time. Would you have had courage to walk through? Would there have been fear in you? Would you have believed that you could walk through that? Think. Now, also remember as they were marching around Jordan, how stupid that seemed that God said, march around this city. After you march around on the seventh day in Jericho, I presume I said Jericho, march around this city of Jericho. On the seventh day, you march around 7 times and blow the trumpet and shout, and then the thing will come crashing down. How silly does it sound? But that silliness doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If God has said it, as long as you believe it, it doesn't matter how stupid it sounds. As long as God has said it, it will come to pass. Has God said something to you? Has he said it into your heart? Or have you seen where he said it in his word and it caught your attention? God saying this, irrespective of how stupid it might sound in the here and now. If you act as if what he said is so, just like those Israelites that marched around like idiots, they got what God said. Just like the Israelites that marched through that parted Red Sea, they got to the other side. They believed God. And it's not a myth. It's not a myth. There's evidence to that effect for both cases. But to the rational mind, that is stupidity. That is actually stupidity. But God doesn't need your permission to make what he says that looks stupid come to pass. Just believe him. That's all he asks of you. He says, for it is impossible to please God without believing him. God bless you. Hallelujah.